economy. And here's the thing about credit default swaps. You can't shoot them in the head. But you can with zombies. And I think that's why it's popular, because with everything that's happening, at least there's something that I know. When I go to bed at night, I think, I can shoot it in the head. Yes, sir.
You're talking about entertainment with the zombie movies right now, like the 70s, the 5-day zombie movies. What's the closest in your interpretation to the zombie virus?
Oh, for me, the most realistic zombie movie ever made, hands down, the original Dawn of the Dead. That's it. That's it. George Romero, when I talk about George Romero, I feel like young Malcolm X talking about Elijah Muhammad. I mean, it's just Toby doesn't assassinate. But it's true. George Romero, praise be unto him. See, George, and I can call him George. I've met him like 5 times. George, he didn't just make zombie movies. He made movies that had what's called social commentary. And social commentary was what you used to do with science fiction in the good old days, where you couldn't talk about real stuff, so you infused it into whatever you were doing. And wow, see what George did in Night and Day and Dawn, well, especially Dawn, that was a searing indictment of his generation, called the baby boomers. And George grew up when he was a kid, when his generation was like, hey man, I'm not going to be like my conservative plastic parents, man. I'm better than that. I'm going to change the world. I'm making a better place to live, man. Don't trust anyone over 30. Don't trust anyone over 30. Yeah. And then they turned 30. And then all of their high ideals was replaced by a new mantra, which was, can I buy it, can I smell it, can I snort it, can I screw it? That was it. The baby boomers. Can I buy it, can I sell it, can I snort it, can I screw it? Yay! Money! And so what George did was, he put it in a shopping mall, where he had his generation clamoring to get in, and where they said this was an important place in their lives. So George, it ain't gonna get better than that, because anyone who's ever come after him has just made it about, I don't know, heads being blown off and guts being eaten and yellow Hummers. Anyway, yes, sir. When? I don't know. Go ask them. They ain't telling me. No. For those of you who don't know, the movie World War Z has been is being made into a movie by a gentleman named Brad Pitt. He is starring in it. He is producing it. And from what they tell me, I am not involved, because the first rule of Hollywood is get the book writer out of there. What does he know? From what they tell me, it is coming out December 21st of next year. Yep. So we shall see. Anyone else? Yes?
Okay, so thank you. I had a problem with the zombies underwater. Why does salt water not eat up their skin, and how come they don't float? What is your...
Well, actually, in Zombie Survival Guide, ma'am, they do. They do when gases start to raise them up as the bacteria.
That's not in the salt water. You had that in, that's only in...
In fresh water? There are zombies floating in salt water, man. Yeah. I'll have to go, okay, what's your name? Okay, all right, well, I'll have to go back to my editor and my publisher, and in the Zombie Survival Guide, issue number 2, Jessica's version, I will put in an addendum that says, asterisk, see page 143, also salt water. Why doesn't it? How the hell do I know? Ask them. There's something called science, and I know that's sort of out of fashion in this country, but the whole point of science is mysterious, and we keep discovering. When I was a kid, every life on Earth was carbon-based. Is it still? No. Because when I was a kid, they discovered vents at the bottom of the ocean in which life was happening and was not based on every law that we had based every book of science on. Life based on sulfur? That's not supposed to happen. And now they've just discovered a lake which has bacteria growing in it, which could be on Mars. So why? Addendum number 2. Yes? You mean like a zombie ichthyosaurus, man? Why don't you and Jessica talk? Yes, sir.
What do you think is probably your most, or who is probably the most important, I guess, source of research in this?
For me, real life. When I sat down to write Zombie Survival Guide, everyone's like, "Did you watch all the zombie movies?" No, I watched one. Dawn of the Dead scared the crap out of me. Zing! Went over and thought, okay, real zombie plague. What do I do? So every other piece of research is based on something real. I get a lot of flack in Zombie Survival Guide for when I talk about assault rifles, and I'm not very kind to the M16. And I shouldn't be. It's a POS. Yep. And anyone who's ever had to field strip one or clean one, myself included, Army ROTC, 1990 Desert Storm, POS. You know why? Because it wasn't designed as a frontline combat infantry weapon. It was designed as an Air Force security weapon. It was designed for men in blue to stand like this all day, circling a CRID. That was it. And then a genius named McNamara, who was the Donald Rumsfeld of his day, thought, oh, every branch of the service should have the same everything. Same boots, same mess kit, same uniform, same gun, right? Because Guardian B-52 in Ramstein Air Force Base, Germany, is exactly like going through the mud of Vietnam. Yay! And we spent the last 60 years trying to turn that weapon into a frontline combat infantry weapon. And sometimes we've been good, and sometimes we haven't. The Marines are going back to the M14. I talked about another gun that wasn't designed for that, gun designed by some Ivan in a hospital who'd been shot up during World War II and thought, well, I know what it's like to be a soldier. Dirt, crap. How do I design a gun that will never, ever, 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 ever quit? And he designed the AK-47. And I know, it's a commie gun, it's a bad guy gun. Every episode of the A-Team, they fought guys with AKs. I get it. It's wrong, it's nasty, it's like society. Ew. But it will never let you down. So the key to my books have always been something I never did in high school, which was doing my homework. Yes, sir. Oh, wait, so how are we doing on time? What time is it? 8:03? All right, well, a couple more questions. Yes, way back.
What was the historical inspiration behind the Redeker plan?
Oh, the historical inspiration behind the Redeker plan? Well, that was based on something very real. That was based on when I was 13 years old, back in 1985, and I watched a film about a country called South Africa, which most of you probably never heard of. Or if you do, you're like, oh yeah, Nelson Mandela, oh, sweet velvet rainbows. Wasn't like that when I was a kid. When I was a kid, I saw a real documentary about kids my age being taught to shoot. Mandatory. Because they knew at some point, 98% of the country that they were stepping on was going to rise up and kill them. So they were living on the edge of paranoia. And as a 13-year-old, I was like, wow, I thought I had problems. Like hair growing in weird places. Strange feelings in math class when I looked. Anyway. That was my inspiration. I thought if there was ever going to be a person who would come up with something as sick and wrong as the Redeker plan, as completely inhuman, it would have been an Afrikaan from the 1980s. Anyone else? 2 more questions. Yes, sir. Right, you. With both hands. Yeah. Wait a minute.
Can zombies die when they're underneath mud and salt and anything?
No. Now, to wrap up, I'm sorry, what was your name, sir? Isaac. Thank you, Isaac. To wrap up, I'm going to do a zombie self-defense demonstration. And I need a volunteer. Isaac? So listen, here's what we're going to do. When I say go, you're going to come at me as a zombie, and don't run, because we know zombies, they can't run, right? Yeah, oh yeah, and can you make me tell myself? I just got chills, that was awesome. All right, so wait for me to say go. So I'm going to do a self-defense move here, and it's going to save everyone's life. Okay, stay right there. Wait till I say go.
Limber up.